latest game, George?
It's a very dangerous line of work.
I'll say.
Would you kill for me, George?
Hello everybody, welcome back to Screenstars. I'm here today to bring you my review for the 2025 slick spy thriller Black Bag. The film is directed by Steven Soderbergh and it stars Michael Fassbender. We have Cate Blanchett, Tom Burke, we have Marisa Abela, Naomi Harris and Pierce Brosnan. Now, what this film is, it focuses on a married couple. We've got Michael Fassbender's character, George, and we have Cate Blanchett's character, Catherine. They are a married couple, but they also both happen to be in the spy game. Now, there seems to be a developing situation. There appears to be like somebody betraying them from within. And it can only be 3 people. And Michael Fassbender is like renowned for catching liars, moles. You know, he's kind of the super spy, really. And the 3 people on his list, one of them includes his wife. So he gets to work trying to figure out who is trying to betray the agency by selling some top secret thingamabig jig that there always is in films like this. However, the more he uncovers, a bigger web of lies starts to engulf his investigation. Right, what are my thoughts on Black Bag? Well, Steven Soderbergh, as we know, is a very, very talented director. He brought us some great films over the years. The Oceans films, really like them. I'm seriously considering revisiting them to review for the channel. Out of Sight, which I think is one of his best films, if not his best film. I just think that's an outstanding film. And then he's done other stuff as well, Magic Mike and Traffic. And more recently, he did a film recently that I reviewed that I didn't like very much called Presence. That was him kind of, you know, doing a little bit of horror. So he's done a lot over the years, Steven Soderbergh. And I think you could argue maybe he's lost a little bit of his mojo over the last decade or so. So he's kind of going back to his roots here and giving us, like, you know, a slick thriller film, which is very similar to some of his earlier films, like the Oceans films, obviously, and Out of Sight and things like that. And what we get here is, as I've said, a very slick spy thriller that kind of delves a little bit more into the intelligence side of things rather than, you know, the James Bond actiony side of things. So if you're going into this expecting this to be a full-on, all-action spy thriller, you're going to be disappointed because the pacing might be an issue for some people here. There's no denying that this film takes a little bit of time to get going. I was starting to... It was starting to lose me within the first half an hour because all I kept thinking is, right, okay, what is this thing is supposed to be finding? That, you know, these 3 potential moles within the agency. What is it they're trying to sell? Because you never really get a clear picture. You just know it's bad, whatever it is. And we don't really know these 3 people that he's investigating. So the film kind of spends a lot of its time almost for us to get to know them, as well as Michael Fassbender's character, George. And he essentially invites them all around for dinner, obviously including his wife. You know, he's got a real, if you like, a bloodhound nose. He can spot when people are lying. He doesn't like liars, all this kind of stuff. But everything is pointing to his wife being the mole, if you like, or being that one who's betraying the agency. So he's very dedicated to his wife and vice versa. So the film tries to kind of balance that, you know, who is actually doing this, and if it is his wife, what is he going to do? Is he going to turn her in, or is he going to help her, or what? So much of the film, it kind of tips and balances those scales until it takes, like, I don't know, about a third of the way through, it kind of takes a little bit of a pivot, a little bit of a different direction, because you get a few more of the answers, not all the answers, but you get some of the answers, and then, if you like, it kind of says, right, okay, we're gonna try and do this, and it becomes it's almost like a whodunit in many ways, and the end scene is very reminiscent of, a Poirot scene. When Poirot sits them all in a room, sits them down, and then goes through everything and then finally reveals who the culprit is. It's almost like that's what the final scene here is in the film. So it's also a whodunit in many ways. But I can't say initially I was enamoured with this film. Like I say, the slow pacing got to me a little bit, and it felt a little bit dull and uninteresting. And then I started warming up to it as the film goes on. I started warming up to the characters, because this George character, played by Michael Fassbender, is very reminiscent of the character he played in the Prometheus films, the Alien prequels, the David character. Very emotionless, very matter of fact, and very robotic almost. And it was hard to warm to his character in a lot of ways. But you get there. And you also do a little bit with Cate Blanchett's character, because she's also very similar to George's character. Very matter of fact, very cold, very machine-like. So I feel like they're perfect for each other, but you also are not sure whether they would betray each other at the drop of a hat. You know what I mean? So, like I said, I think the film does a good job of kind of keeping you guessing as to what the intentions are of quite a lot of characters in this film. So it's a bit of a difficult one, this one. I think this is probably... I don't think it's on par with some of his earlier films. I did find it beautifully made. I mean, it's been beautifully made and shot. And like I said, it's very slick and slow paced and very matter of fact and deliberate in like the story it's telling. It's just, I don't think this is going to be for everybody in regards to like a spy thriller. It's not what you would describe as a traditional spy thriller. As I said, it focuses far more on the intelligence side of things, the behind closed doors. It's what you potentially might imagine would go on like at MI6 in London sort of thing. There's no James Bonds running around the corridors. What you've got is people who do their job. So you've got people that work in a room where they're looking at cameras. You've got another person whose job it is to, like the Michael Fassbender, who's to search out who's telling untruths, putting people through lie detectors, all this kind of stuff. So they've all got their parts to play. They've all got to kind of go, is it once a week or once a month, and have like a therapy session to make sure that they're still balanced and everything. It all feels like, well, I can believe this is what it's actually like, to work in an intelligence organisation. It's certainly not all glamorous, and it doesn't present itself as all glamorous, this film. So yeah, I did enjoy it. It just took a little bit of time for me to warm up to it. The strong performances by everybody, the mystery of the film, the whodunit aspect of the film kind of gets under your skin, and you kind of want to figure out what's going on later in the film. And ultimately, it did turn out to be quite a rewarding experience. So yeah, that's my thoughts on Black Bad Guys. Let me know your thoughts in the comments if you've seen this film or if you're looking forward to checking it out. And I will, of course, be back with plenty more content on the channel very soon.